Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Do you remember a movie called The Children? I don't know anyone who's ever spoken about this movie at all. It's one of the many Lloyd Kaufman Troma Team productions, but when I was looking up information about the movie, I can't really find any involvement by Lloyd Kaufman or Troma Team Productions in this movie. And what I mean by that is, the opening credits of the film say presented by Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hers, but IMDb and Wikipedia have no mention of Lloyd Kaufman or Michael Hers being involved with this movie. So please let me know if I'm looking at something wrong or if you know something I don't. But why am I even talking about this movie? Well, let me tell you a really quick story. Back in the early 80s, had to be 82, 83, I saw this movie. And I remember it being near Christmas, maybe Christmas Eve. I only saw the movie once, but I always remembered these little kids with black fingernails hugging adults and burning them alive. And that's about as much of the plot as I could remember, and I only remembered the name of the movie having the word children in it. So for many years, trying to look this movie up, I had nothing to go on. I mean, obviously there was no internet back then. And I also knew that it wasn't Children of the Damned because I knew that movie and it was in black and white. And I'm referring to the original, not the remake. I had also never run across anyone that remembered this movie. So it's one of those films that I remember from my childhood, but was just kind of lost to time. Well, fast forward many decades, and I happened to come across a movie on Tubi called The Children. So I clicked on it, and lo and behold, it's that movie I saw way back in the day. I started watching it, and I think I may have watched about 15 minutes, and I got distracted somehow, and I never finished the film. Well, that was a couple years ago. So I finally decided to revisit this film and watch the whole thing. And let me just tell you, this movie is not good, but it does have that cheesy, low-budget charm. I'm going to quickly mention the cast. And I say quickly because there's almost no one in this film that you will recognize from anything significant. But for horror fans, Peter Maloney plays Frank in this film, and he would play Bennings in The Thing. So as far as actors go, he might be the only recognizable face for horror fans. So what's this movie even about? Well, in short, there's an accident at a nuclear power plant, and the resulting toxic smoke causes kids to turn into zombies. Now, it's really not explained how this happens or why it doesn't also affect adults, because there's a news broadcast that says all the kids in the tri-state area are missing, blah, blah, blah.
There's no explanation for the mysterious disappearance of school-aged children in a tri-state area.
And you realize that it's not just happening in this one small town. But there is no explanation as to why it only affects the children, or why it turns them into zombies that can literally microwave people. The film focuses on the small town of Ravensback, where a group of kids on a school bus inadvertently drive through the aforementioned fog cloud. The town sheriff comes across the school bus, which is empty, no sign of the driver or the kids. Obviously concerned, the sheriff goes to a nearby home to see if any of the children have showed up. Meanwhile, the zombie kids are out wreaking havoc on the townsfolk. One thing that might throw a modern viewer for a loop is how nonchalant the parents are about their kids being missing. Like, it's really later on in the day before they start getting worried. A younger person watching this will say, what the hell did you guys do before cell phones? Well, you just had to wait and see, or hope that if you called someone, they were near their phone, or even at home. That being said, I do feel like the parents in this movie were a little too nonchalant, and definitely a bit too trusting of the bus driver that a couple of them admit is kind of a weird person. However, the kids being missing and the sheriff's search for them is the only plot point in this movie that deserves any discussion, which might normally be fine in a horror movie like this if there were actual scares or really good gore effects, but The Children has neither. I mean, if not for the language and nudity, you'd swear this movie was made for TV, because there is almost no blood, and the effect used when the kids are actually killing people is laughable at best. And I understand that it's a low-budget film, and I understand that there will always be limitations, but if you know you have a low-budget film and not the best plot, put all your effort into the effect of the burned adults, because it honestly just looks like they laid a pizza on the actors' limbs and faces. What may be even worse is that the sheriff realizes that bullets have no effect on the kids, but cutting off their hands will kill them. And it turns out at the end that even that plot point isn't consistent, but I'll come back to that. When the kids' hands get cut off, it's a really goofy looking effect that's also completely bloodless, and for reasons that are not explained, cutting off the hands kills the kids. They scream in pain, fall to the ground, and the black fingernails on their severed hands go back to normal. And let me emphasize, all without a drop of blood. I mean, just look at this scene. This kid is supposed to be chopped to pieces, and the scene just ends up looking lame. There's a couple other issues I have with the children, one of which is the way that the sheriff dies. I mentioned earlier that cutting off the hands will kill the children. Well, the sheriff cuts off one hand of one of the children who apparently dies in that scene. But then that same kid comes back towards the end, sneaks up on the sheriff, and kills him with her one good hand. I feel like the writers could have come up with a better, more creative way to kill the sheriff. Another issue I have is with two of the main adults in the film, Martin and Gail Fremont. They have two kids, one younger child who was at home and an older daughter who was on the bus and is missing. And Gail is also pregnant.
Frank, what's your hometown? When did you leave Poland?
Sorry.
I left.
These two make some truly bonehead decisions in this movie. Like in one scene, Martin warns his wife that their daughter is now a zombie and she cannot let her in the house. But then a few minutes later, Martin is nearly killed by that same zombie daughter because he suddenly stops using any type of logic.
Daddy!
In another scene, Gail bashes the sheriff over the head with a flower pot because he was shooting at the children that she knows are zombies. And lastly, what might be the most annoying thing is that after their son was killed by one of the zombie children, and of course after the realization that their daughter's a zombie and is also dead, Gail goes into labor. And all of a sudden, both parents forget that both their children are dead, one of which is upstairs in his bedroom, burned to a crisp. Like, this would be the most stressful, traumatic situation imaginable for a mother giving birth. And the reaction is kind of like, oh well, we lost two kids, but we're about to get a new one. And even after she gives birth, I understand Gail falling asleep, but why did Martin have to go to sleep? Like, did you seriously forget that both your other kids are dead? And just to add a little insult to injury, the film leaves you with a cliffhanger. The newborn baby is breastfeeding and it has those black fingernails. So what does that even mean? Is it going to kill its mother? Is it somehow just a zombie human hybrid? You'll never know because there was thankfully no sequel. So is 1980's The Children worth watching? Well, that depends. If you hadn't seen it in 45 years and you just forgot about it, yeah, it might be worth a quick watch. It is available on Tubi. But if you watch horror films for the gore effects, this movie will not scratch that itch. If anything, it might just piss you off. And if you're a parent, just about everyone in this movie is going to piss you off. And yet, with all those negatives, this movie does still have that cheesy charm that might help you tolerate it long enough to get through an entire viewing. So that's my review of The Children. And I'm really interested to know who else has seen this movie, when you first saw it, or when was the last time you saw it. And also, if you think it's terrible, or just a bit of cheesy 80s horror. So leave me a comment, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll be back real soon.
Weird science.